This video we will discuss what are the clinical features of hyponatremia, how to recognize hyponatremia, what are the causes of hyponatremia, management, which IV fluid to be given, at which rate it should be given, and what mistakes should we avoid. And we will do some clinical case discussions. Clinical features of the hyponatremia depend upon ki how acutely or how fast hyponatremia develop and what is the severity of low sodium. Normal sodium range is 135 to 145 millimoles per liter. So the clinical feature will be कि if there is low sodium in the blood, so in the brain there will be a fluid shift from the blood vessel into the cells, so there will be a cellular swelling because blood flow from a low osmotic gradient to a osmotic area to a high osmotic area. So sodium is the main osmoles which maintain the osmolality of the fluid. So there will be a fluid shift from the blood vessel into the cells. So if it is acute development, patient will develop encephalopathy, confusion will be there, seizures or coma will be present. Cerebral edema will occur, which present as nausea, vomiting, headache. There can be dangerous complications like brainstem herniation, or it could be a non-cardiogenic pulmonary edema. This is known as neurogenic pulmonary edema. Like whenever there is some brain injury, there is a release of catecholamines, and those catecholamines causes pulmonary vasoconstriction, leading to increased hydrostatic pressure in the pulmonary vessels, and that leads to neurogenic pulmonary edema. While clinical features, if it develops chronically, chronic means after 48 hours. So after 48 hours there will be gait disturbance or cognitive disturbance, and there can be in the long run bone fractures because it reduces the bone density, and more fracture chances will be present. While depending on the severity, if it is a mild hyponatremia, then patient will have headache, nausea, vomiting, or a feeling of lethargy. So with this feature we can tell ki patient having a mild hyponatremia. While if a patient have severe hyponatremia, then patient will be drowsy, patient will be having seizures, convulsions, or patient will be in coma. So these are the features of severe hyponatremia. Now, how to approach regarding the causes of the hyponatremia? So, just assume that sodium is in a solution. In a solution, there is a solvent like water and plasma, and there is solute sodium. So, the sodium concentration will depend on ki how much it is relative to the plasma. How much is the sodium relative to the plasma? So, causes can be divided into three groups. Before those three groups, first and foremost important is we have to rule out the pseudo hyponatremia. Pseudo hyponatremia is artifact, lab artifact in measurement of sodium when there is high lipids in the body or high proteins in the body. So if they are present, so what will happen ki in the lab we will get to see a false low reading of the sodium, because lab readings they measure the sodium in relation to the plasma. So these component will increase the plasma component and will make the sodium low artificially or artifact. But in these cases, the serum osmolality will be normal. The serum osmolality will depend on the mainly sodium. So if sodium is falsely low, osmolality will be normal. But if it is true low sodium, then the serum osmolality will be low. And serum osmolality range is usually 280 to 310, or some books take it as 280 to 300. So this is a normal serum osmolality in these cases. So once serum osmolality comes out to be low with a low sodium, then we'll say yes, it is a true low sodium case. So the most important is we will look at the hydration status of the patient. If patient comes to us in our ward or in emergency or OPD, just look at the hydration status, see the tongue, see the axilla. If axilla is dry, tongue is dry, that means patient is dehydrated. So what happens in that case? There is a loss of water along with loss of sodium from the body. So both things are loss from the body. So that will make sodium low. So there will be more electrolyte loss than the water loss. So if there is a more sodium loss, that will make hypovolemic hyponatremia. In that case, very easy to recognize. While if the hydration status is fair, so we will look at the edema status of the patient, like whether there is any pedal edema, there is any ascites, crepitations in the lungs. So if this edema is absent, that means ki there is no creps in the lungs, there is no pedal edema, there is no ascites. So this is a case of euvolumic hyponatremia. What does euvolumic means? Euvolumic means ki that there is a water gain in the body, and that water gain has made the sodium dilute. We can say ki sodium will be less concentration wise. Though it is known as euvolumic, this is not a very accurate euvolumic. There is a little bit of slight water gain in the body that has made it clinically no edema, and we can call this as euvolumic. While the other can be edema is present. So in this case what happened, there is more water gain in the body, though sodium gain is also there, but water gain is more than the sodium gain. So what happens, the sodium concentration will be low, sodium concentration will be low, and clinically edema features will be present. So this is known as hypervolumic hyponatremia, because the management of all the three conditions are different. For example, if it is a case of hypervolumic, we will do water restriction, while water restriction is absolutely contraindicated in hypovolumic. So the treatment which is the mainstay of treatment in hypervolumic is contraindicated in hypovolumic. Similarly, in cases of hypervolumic or euvolumic, we can give tolvaptan. Tolvaptan causes a free water loss from the kidneys, and that will be absolutely contraindicated in hypovolumic hyponatremia. So like that, we have to make a accurate diagnosis of the etiology of hyponatremia. Now, there are three types of hyponatremia. So type 1 is known as hypervolemic. So we will see what are the etiologies of hypervolemic. So we will look into the urinary sodium levels. So what are the important things in the evaluation of hyponatremia? One is serum osmolality, that is very important. Second is look at the serum concentration of sodium. Look clinically hydration and edema status, and then check the urinary sodium. So if the urinary sodium is low means it is less than 20, that means ki kidneys are working fine. The kidneys are trying to absorb the sodium through their tubules, so the net sodium excretion will be less. So these will be due to the RAS activation which occur in hypervolumic hyponatremia. So those cases will be heart failure case or cirrhosis case. While when the kidney itself is undergoing failure, so tubules will not be able to reabsorb the sodium. So in those cases urinary sodium will be more than 20. So the cause is the renal failure, like chronic kidney disease or acute kidney injury, in which there is a hypervolemia due to low GFR. Sodium will be diluted in those cases. So urinary sodium will be important in the diagnosis. Now, what is the treatment of hypervolumic hyponatremia? So, if it is a mild hyponatremia, like features are mild, water restriction is done. Water restriction means we will give water to the patient which will be less than urinary output of 24 hours plus insensible water loss. Insensible water loss is through respiratory system, through GIT secretions, that is insensible. So the formula for insensible water loss is 10 ml per kg body weight per day. So it comes out to be like 500 to 700 ml in a day. So you add these two, say the urinary output is 1.5 liters and insensible water loss is half a liter. So total loss is 2 liters. So we will tell the patient to take only 1.5 liter of water in a day. So negative water balance we will make. So this is known as water restriction. So in most of the cases this will work, and this is the safest, cheapest, and usually the best method to decrease the sodium. What we have seen that in most of the cases, whenever doctor sees low sodium, he advises the patient take salt capsules in the OPD, but that is wrong. Low sodium does not mean you have to replace the sodium. So in most of the cases, especially of hypervolemic, you have to just reduce the water. The sodium will increase automatically in a safe manner. So we can give furosemide depending on the severity of the pedal edema or crepitations in the lungs. Like 20 to 40 milligram of furosemide per day can be started. While if it is a severe case or refractory case, severe case is the sodium is low, like 105, 110 millimoles per liter, or sodium is not improving with water restriction and furosemide and still it is low. The cutoff for starting the tolvaptan in hypervolemic is less than 125 millimoles of sodium. If it is that low, then we can start with the tolvaptan. So tolvaptan causes the free water loss through the kidneys, and the dose is 15 milligram once a day and then gradually increase to 30 milligram once a day. So this causes liver dysfunction, should not be given for more than 1 month. So the duration of this therapy is 1 month. And remember this point, when we are giving tolvaptan, the water intake should be slightly increased from the water restriction which we have done in above step. Here the water should be slightly increased, water intake should be increased if tolvaptan is being given, because there will be a free water loss from the kidneys. Contraindicated in hypervolemic hyponatremia is hypertonic saline. This causes more water, means water overload in the body, can cause decompensated heart failure. So it should not be given. Now type 2 is hypovolemic. So hypovolemic means there is a salt loss, sodium loss along with water loss from the body. It could be a GIT cause, or it could be a non-GIT cause, that is a renal cause. So we can divide hypovolemic into two groups. One is a renal cause and other is a non-renal cause. So urinary sodium will help us. So if the urinary sodium is less than 20, so that means RAS activation has occurred, kidneys are normal, so they will absorb the sodium more and more, so make the urinary sodium less in the urine. So diarrhea and vomiting are the usual causes. While urinary sodium is more than 20, so obviously it will be due to diuretic use, or it can be some salt wasting nephropathies like medullary cystic diseases, or it could be a primary adrenal insufficiency. Primary adrenal insufficiency means disease originate from the adrenal gland itself. So if it is a primary adrenal insufficiency, then in that condition mineralocorticoid deficiency is more severe. So mineralocorticoid, their function is to absorb the sodium. So if they are not proper, levels are less, so the sodium absorption will be reduced and sodium will be excreted in the urine. So they will produce a hypovolemic hyponatremia, primary adrenal insufficiency, like Addison's disease. The treatment of this is obvious. Give rehydration can be given as oral rehydration solution if patient is asymptomatic and sodium levels are like 130 millimoles per liter. But if patient is symptomatic and sodium levels are very low, then we can go for a IV fluid. Here the IV fluid which is given should contain water as well as electrolytes in a adequate quantity. So we choose isotonic saline because we have to replace the water as well. So isotonic saline is given. The formula is, this is a very important conventional formula, that how much sodium should be given from outside in millimoles. So sodium to be given in the millimoles is body water multiplied by desired sodium concentration. So this is a rule that we should not replace the sodium very rapidly, because it can cause pontine damage. So we make our own target ki within 24 hours we have to raise the sodium concentration to this level. So this is the physician decision ki what should be the desired sodium concentration in that particular time frame. Ki suppose in 24 hours the physician wants to increase the sodium concentration by +8 from the initial value. So if the initial value is 110 with which patient present, the desired sodium concentration in 24 hours should be 118. So +8 should be increased. So that is the physician decision. So with this the physician will calculate ki how much sodium will be given from the outside in 24 hours. So this is an important formula. So what is body water? Body water is 0.6 into body weight in males and 0.5 into body weight in females. So this is the very important formula to know. Now, type 3 is euvolemic. Euvolemic, the causes can be hypothyroidism. In hypothyroidism, there is a slight decrease in the cardiac output. So, slight decrease in the cardiac output decreases the GFR of the kidney. So, there is a slight water retention in the body, slight water retention. So, that dilute the sodium. As I told you, euvolemic is not a accurate euvolemic. There is a little bit of dilution factor here. So, this little bit of dilution factor will make the sodium low, but clinically edema will not be present. So hypothyroidism has to be ruled out in a patient of hyponatremia, especially if patient is euvolemic. The second cause is adrenal insufficiency, but at the level of pituitary or hypothalamus. So that is known as secondary. So if ACTH is low, in that condition, the predominant hormone affected is glucocorticoid. So there is a glucocorticoid deficiency. So now you can compare. If it was a primary adrenal insufficiency, it causes hypovolemic hyponatremia. If it is secondary adrenal insufficiency, it causes the euvolemic hyponatremia. The reason is glucocorticoid normally inhibit ADH hormone. ADH, all of you know, is antidiuretic hormone normally. So what will happen if a glucocorticoid deficiency occur? ADH will not be inhibited, so the level will be more. So what is the function of ADH? ADH is antidiuretic hormone. It will absorb water from the kidney and will make the dilutional, little bit of dilutional hyponatremia. So this behave just like a SIADH, syndrome of inappropriate ADH in the body, glucocorticoid deficiency. Why this is important? Because if we diagnose that euvolemic is due to hypothyroidism, thyroxine replacement will correct the sodium. No other treatment is needed. Treat the underlying cause. And here, if we will treat the secondary adrenal insufficiency, then euvolemic hyponatremia will be treated without any replacement of sodium from outside. And the most common cause is ADH excess, syndrome of inappropriate ADH secretion, which is due to CNS infections, which can be due to some pneumonias, and which can be because of drugs, or can be pain induced. Post-operative pain, ADH is increased, so it will absorb the more water into the body, and when there is a more water in the body, what happens? Atria will stretch, and from the atria ANP is released. Atrial natriuretic peptide will release, so that cause natriuresis through the urine also. So that natriuresis prevent clinical edema in these patients. Now, what is the treatment of SIADH? If patient is having a mild and asymptomatic, water restriction is done. Now, how much water restriction is done for a case of SIADH? This is important for medicine PG residents, not as a OPD basis, but in the IPD ward. So, how much water should be restricted? That depend on the very important ratio. This ratio is urinary sodium plus potassium divided by plasma sodium. That indicate कि how much the electrolyte free urine is getting excreted from the patient body. So if this ratio is more, than 1, that means in the urine more and sodium and potassium are going, so it is a less free water excretion. because urine contain more electrolytes, so it is a less free water excretion. So this is an important ratio. If this ratio is more than 1, the water restriction should be less than 500 ml per day. So water restriction should be done more if more electrolyte are getting lost in the urine. If this ratio is around 1, so water restriction in a day should be 500 to 700 ml. And if this ratio is less, that means from the urine electrolyte free water excretion is adequate and happening more. So in that condition, the water restriction will be 700 to 1000 ml per day. So this is the restriction formula for SIADH. Now, if a patient has severe and symptomatic hyponatremia presenting to us with acute symptoms, so the important fluid here will be 3% saline, because we do not overload the body with water by isotonic saline. The water component should be less and more sodium should go into the body in these cases. So we give 3% saline, and 3% saline, our target will be in first 4 hours we will increase the serum sodium by 4. So in 4 hours, if we increase the serum sodium concentration by +4 from the initial value, so that will take care of the brain symptoms, CNS symptom, it will be taken care of. So this is the emergency step that should be taken. And we will check the sodium every 2 to 4 hourly. After that, the treatment will be similar to the treatment of chronic hyponatremia, because in chronic hyponatremia what happens ki there are some compensatory changes that prevent the cerebral edema. So if the patient is chronic and after treatment of acute case, we will follow the steps similar to the chronic management of hyponatremia. So in chronic management, the rate of correction is less than equal to +8 from the initial presentation value in first 24 hours. So what does that means? If a patient comes to us as a chronic hyponatremia, in 24 hours we will correct the sodium by +8, maximum to maximum. And in this case, when patient comes to us in acute, in first 4 hours we'll increase the sodium by +4. So suppose, for example, if patient comes to us with a sodium of 110, so we will make the sodium 104 in 4 hours in acute cases. So now after 104 is achieved, our next target will be, we will make it +8 in next 24 hours. So it will be 104, that will become the baseline. Now from 104 +8, that means 100 and if the sodium here was 110 in the baseline, we will make 114 in 4 hours. After that 114 in the next 24 hours, we will make it 114 +8. So that will come out to be 122. So our target will be in the next 24 hours, make it 122. Or if a patient coming directly to your emergency in a chronic hyponatremia, so if the sodium was 110, so make it 108 in first 24 hours. Then check sodium every 4 hourly, and subsequent 24 hour we make it to +6 or less than +6 in the subsequent 24 hours. Why this is kept as slow? Because rapid correction will lead to pontine myelinolysis. So the rapid sodium correction leads to a irreversible syndrome, lysis of the pons, which will make the patient quadriplegic. There will be cranial nerve damage, patient will be having dysarthria, locked in syndrome will occur in these patients. Now stop saline infusion. 3% saline should be stopped if any one of these is achieved. Symptoms resolve, serum sodium absolute value become 125 millimoles per liter. So we keep the patient, the treatment is, we keep the patient slightly hyponatremic. Do not correct the sodium immediately. And total increase, absolute value increase is +20. So we will keep the levels there only. So if any of these 3 is achieved, suppose the symptoms resolve first, so stop the infusion. Or if the serum sodium is 125, even if you have given only +10 millimoles of sodium, or you have increased the sodium by plus 10 only, so stop there. So if any one of these is achieved first, that will be the time where you will stop the saline infusion. Now the case discussion what we have done earlier. So a 40-year-old male presented with severe vomiting due to food poisoning. Patient is lethargic, BP is low, dehydrated, weight is 70 kg, sodium is 117. So this is the feature given to you. So you have to identify ki what is the type of hyponatremia. So obviously patient is dehydrated, this is a hypovolemic hyponatremia, and depending on the symptom patient is lethargic, there is no seizures, no convulsions, so patient must be having a mild sort of hyponatremia. So instead of absolute value, how much patient is clinically affected is more important due to this hyponatremia. So this is a hypovolemic hyponatremia. So how the patient should be supplemented with. So patient has water loss, so obviously we will give isotonic saline. Now we will use the same conventional formula. Sodium to be given in millimoles is body water into desired sodium concentration minus initial sodium concentration. So patient, we will assume that patient sodium is chronically more than 48 hours, it becomes low. So we will correct this sodium in 24 hours. So our target of desired sodium concentration will be maximum to maximum plus 8 from the initial value. So initial value was 117. Our desired sodium concentration in 24 hour will be 125 in 24 hour, initial 24 hour. Body water is 0.6 into body weight. Male patient is given and body weight is 70. So this will come out to be 42 into 8, that means 336 millimoles of sodium should be given in 24 hours. In 24 hours it should be given. So desired sodium concentration that we want to achieve in 24 hours is 125 plus 8 from the presentation value. That depend on the physician to physician. Some take desired sodium concentration as plus 10 from the initial value, some take it plus 6. So I have taken it plus 8 from the initial presentation value. So this will come out to be how much fluid should be given. So we have to give a normal saline. We have to give a normal saline. So in this condition, 150 millimoles per liter of normal saline is there. 150 millimoles is present in 1 liter of normal saline. So we will calculate ki how much volume of the normal saline will contain 336 millimoles of sodium. So this will be 336 millimoles of sodium will be present in 336 divided by 154, that means 2.2 liters of normal saline. So that will be given over a period of 24 hours. Remember, this should be given over a period of 24 hours to our patient. Now in the next one, patient is a post-operative patient, fracture neck of femur, and the patient was given 5% dextrose, 3 liters of dextrose. Dextrose is almost a free water. Glucose will be utilized, leaving behind the free water, and patient was taking oral fluids as well. So patient become next day patient become confused and develop seizure. Next day within 24 hours patient become having confusion and seizures. So it is a case of acute severe symptomatic hyponatremia. This is acute severe symptomatic. There was no dehydration, no edema, no lung crepitation. That means volume overload was not there and there was no dehydration as such. So serum sodium was 110, weight 60 kgs. So this is a case of euvolemic, no dehydration, no edema. Euvolemic means ADH increase was there due to post-operative pain. So ADH increase absorb the water more and more in the body, and patient was having oral liberal fluids. So how to treat that? Patient is severe symptomatic acute hyponatremia. So the most important step we will discuss here ki in 4 hours we will increase the sodium concentration by plus 4 from the initial value. So the initial value of our patient was 110 of sodium, 110 millimoles per liter of sodium. So our desired sodium concentration will be 114 in 4 hours. So we will calculate ki how much sodium should be given in millimoles in first 4 hours. So this will come out to be body weight is 60 kg, male patient 0.6 into 60, desired sodium concentration in 4 hours is 114. So this will come out to be 144 millimoles in first 4 hours should be given. So obviously 3% saline will choose. So in 3% saline, 513 millimoles per liter is the sodium concentration. So 513 millimoles is present in 1 liter, that is 1000 ml of 3% saline. So we will calculate ki 144 millimole sodium will be present in how much ml of 3% saline. So that will be 144 divided by 513, and that will come out to be 280 ml. So we have calculated that 280 ml fluid of 3% saline will be needed, that we have to infuse in 4 hours. So the drip rate should be calculated. So the drip rate will be 280 divided by 4, because in 4 hours we have to give this much of fluid. So drip rate will be 70 ml per hour, 70 ml per hour. So this is how to calculate. This I have calculated just for initial 4 hours. Then after 4 hours we will increase the sodium by plus 8, or depending on the symptoms of the patient, in next 24 hours. So we will use that similar formula. Now a 60-year-old female comes for a routine checkup, history of heart failure with reduced ejection fraction and type 2 diabetes. Patient is taking these medicines: ACE inhibitors, carvedilol, spironolactone, and SGLT inhibitors. Hydration is fair, that means ki there is no dehydration in our patient. Pitting edema is present, so this is hypervolumic hyponatremia most likely. Higher mental functions are normal, that means patient is asymptomatic. Serum sodium is 120. So this is a case of hypervolumic hyponatremia, asymptomatic case. A patient comes to your OPD. So what you should do? So very obvious, patient is asymptomatic, hyponatremia is present, treat the underlying cause. Treat the underlying cause. Underlying cause is heart failure with fluid retention. So the treatment here will be water restriction should be done, and furosemide will be given if there is pitting edema present. Depending on the response, we can titrate the dose of furosemide. We will wait and watch, and if it is refractory and sodium remains less than 125 even after water restriction and furosemide, then we will give tolvaptan in our patient. So this is how to manage these cases of hyponatremia. So if you have to take the summary of this video, most important is measure the plasma osmolality to confirm that it is a true hyponatremia, to confirm that patient is having hypoosmolality. It should be there. Symptomatic hyponatremia, euvolumic hyponatremia is there, hypertonic saline infusion is preferred, while for hypovolumic normal saline is preferred. And if it is hypervolumic, it should be a water restriction mainly. Avoid hyper or normonatremia during the initial 5 days. So make it a rule that initial 5 days do not correct the sodium to a normal limit. Keep the patient hyponatremic. Asymptomatic hyponatremia, treat the underlying disorder. If you have any questions, any doubts, any comments, or any feedback or recommendation, you can put in the comment section. Thank you.